we're going to be talking about in this video is how to stop caring what people think about you. Because we're always so worried about what people think about us, like the clothes that we're wearing and what people think about us. And we can't even look at somebody in the eyes at the bus anymore because we're just so worried about the reactions that people are going to have. We can't stay grounded in who we are as a person because we're just so worried about the perceptions of other people. And this is holding us back from being the person that we're really meant to be and to be our true, authentic selves. Because I've been working on this for the last couple of years, and I'm at the point now where I can walk up to the bus driver and I love to socialize, say, hey, how's it going? When's your shift over? I mean, just talking to people like human beings, because everyone's human. We're all the same. We're all the same. We all come from the same place. And when you can walk up to that bus driver and actually treat him like a human being, when you can talk to that cashier and talk to her or him like a human being, say, hey, how's your day going so far? You know, when is your shift over? Like, you know, you can see the light, their eyes light up right away because nobody talks like that anymore. Right away, their eyes light up and they say, oh my gosh, it's a human being talking to me for once. I am being treated like a human being, right? And then as you do this more and you start to become who you are, you can stop caring what people think about you. So in this video, we're gonna talk about 3 ways to stop caring of what people think about you so that you can be your true, authentic self, okay? But make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys can see the videos that I post every single week, okay? So the first way to stop caring about what people think about you is to get out of your head, okay? Because we're way too much in our heads, okay? That's just the way we've been conditioned in this Western culture, is to just be all up in our heads and worrying about what people think about us. And when I say that you're in your head, what I'm saying is that you literally have too much focus in your head. You lack the connection to the present moment. You lack the connection to what's right in front of you because we're too much in our heads. We're too much focused on the thoughts that we're thinking and we're believing in every single thought that comes up to be true. When in reality, a lot of these thoughts are simply just patterns that you have picked up on from the collective, from people around you, from society, from your parents, from the news. And your mind is conditioned to have all these thoughts. And you're actually conditioned and you have a pattern to be too much in your head. Because you can actually get out of your head and begin to take massive action by meditating, by neutralizing your thoughts. We're gonna talk about that in the second point, but what you wanna do is get out of your head. Okay, I have lots of videos on how to get out of your head, but a great way to stop caring about what people think about you is to get out of your head. So just start talking. Don't think about what people are gonna think about you. Just ask the bus driver how he's doing because you're getting out of your head the moment you start socializing regardless of what people think. When you start taking action on what you want, when you start meditating, when you start becoming present to the moment. Because I used to be in my head a lot. I used to worry a lot about what people thought about me. But the moment I started to become more present to the moment, a couple of years back when I started meditating and I started to observe my thoughts rather than attach to my thoughts and consciously make the choice to redirect myself to the present moment, what I noticed is that people treat me different. I get out of my head. People perceive me in a different way because I'm not thinking about what people think about me. The moment I'm too attached to what people think about me and I'm attached to those thoughts, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where in reality, nobody really cares. Like nobody cares about you. Nobody actually is thinking about you in a bad way. Nobody is thinking that you're anxious or that you're a bad person or that you have social anxiety. Nobody really cares. You could be doing whatever you want and nobody really cares. People assume that you're a good person, that you're confident. But then the moment you start to think, what are people thinking of me? Now your body language changes and now people actually do care about how you look because you created that reality for yourself. You actually created a reality for yourself because these thoughts that you're having are making you act in certain ways that actually make those people perceive you in that way. And what you can begin to do is to actually become more present to the moment and get out of your head, right? You can actually start talking to people. You can become so present to the moment as you're talking to somebody that you get out of your head and you not thinking about your thoughts so much. You're not believing in every single thought. When you're talking to that person, you're actually there with that person, right? Because usually when we're talking to people, we're not there with that person, right? We're not actually with that person. We're actually too much in our heads, worrying about our little egos and what we want to say. You can even try this for yourself. Become conscious of the fact that people don't listen to what other people have to say anymore. We're just waiting for our turn to speak, right? We're just waiting for our turn to speak. Nobody's truly listening to what the other person's saying. We're just waiting for our own turns to speak, and then we're too much in our heads. And you don't even hear what that person's saying because you're so focused on your own thoughts that you're not listening to what they're saying. And you're too much in your head. So get out of your head. You will stop caring of what people think. Okay, the second way to stop caring of what people think about you is to stop believing in every single thought that comes up into your awareness. Like I said earlier, when I started meditating 3 years back, I started observing my thoughts rather than attaching to my thoughts. I started meditating. I would focus on my breath with binaural beats, and I would watch my thoughts as I watched my breath. I would observe my thoughts. I started to neutralize my thoughts. I started to stop believing in every single thought. I became conscious of the fact that my thoughts are simply patterns and that I don't need to attach those thoughts as much, and that a lot of the thoughts that I'm having are simply not true, and that I don't need to believe in every single one of those thoughts. So you can stop being so attached to every single thought because your thoughts are simply patterns that are playing out. It's just a pattern. You pick them up from the collective, you pick them up from the news, from the people around you, and when you begin to neutralize those thoughts, when I say neutralize, what I mean is you observe them and you stop perceiving them as good or bad. You just simply perceive them as what they are. They're not good or bad, they just are, right? They just are. They're not good or bad. We give meaning to these thoughts. We give too much meaning to these thoughts. And you can actually let that go by observing those thoughts. Stop believing in every single thought that you have. Because all these thoughts that are saying you're not confident and all these, like, oh my gosh, I have social anxiety, right? That's what you tell yourself. I have social anxiety. That's what I used to tell myself. I have social anxiety. I'm not a confident person. I used to say, I'm not a confident person. I'm an introverted person. I used to attach to this ideology and this pattern of thoughts playing in my head saying that I'm an introverted person. Once I started observing my thoughts, I started going out more, becoming a social person, talking to people, and I actually became social because I started to stop believing in my thoughts. I realized those thoughts aren't true. I started to change those thoughts and change the beliefs that I have about who I am as a person. I started to say, no, I'm an extroverted person. And when I stopped believing in those thoughts and I started to take more action, it made even more sense because now I actually have experiences to validate that those thoughts are lies, that those thoughts aren't necessarily true. Because all these thoughts that I had in my head saying, I'm not confident, I'm not a social person, when I stopped believing in those thoughts, it gave me the courage to go and socialize. And then when people started responding to me differently, I realized, wait a second, I'm not an introverted person. That's what I used to tell myself. I'm an introverted person, I have anxiety, I'm not confident. Now I'm realizing that was a complete lie. I walk up to people, I'm an extroverted person. I didn't even know that about myself until I stopped believing in those thoughts. I stopped believing in the story that I was telling myself. I started to realize it was a story. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy that I was creating in my life. So it gave me the courage to stop believing in those thoughts. I stopped believing in those thoughts. I would walk up to people, I would start socializing, and I realized, wait a second, those thoughts are lies. Now I gave myself permission to become a different person. So the point is, when you stop believing in your thoughts, it's going to give you the confidence and the action to do things that you wouldn't normally do before, to break the patterns that we're stuck in life. Because you have to stop being so stuck in these patterns and these thoughts. And the moment you can stop believing in every single thought, it's going to give you the power and the confidence and the courage to change your reality and change your life and change the person that you think you are. Change the story. Just change your story. It's that simple. So the third way to stop caring of what people think is to simply observe your thoughts. All right, so become the observer of your thoughts. When I started meditating 3 years ago, I started observing my thoughts. I would simply focus on my breath and observe my thoughts. That's one technique. There's a YouTuber named Aaron Dowdy. What he does is he watches a candle flame and he observes his thoughts there, because our minds are so cluttered, and when you're so worried about keeping your focus in different places, you don't have that concentrated focus, your thoughts will correlate with that. So what you want to do is begin to observe those thoughts and stop attaching to them as much. Neutralize those thoughts. So neutralize those thoughts. Like I said earlier, stop perceiving those thoughts as good or bad. There's no reason to attach to these thoughts. These are just simply thoughts. And there's a lot of negative self-talk that we give ourselves every single day that is not necessarily true. It's just simply a pattern that is playing in your head. So when you can begin to observe those thoughts in meditation, the moment I started doing this 3 years ago, my whole life began to completely change. I stopped attaching to my thoughts. I started observing my thoughts. I started believing in my thoughts. I stopped believing in those thoughts, and my whole life began to completely change. It's almost like I rewrote my own story. I became conscious of reactive thoughts that were simply playing on autopilot, and I began to change my life and change my reality as a result. I began to put my focus on the things that I prefer rather than things that I don't prefer. I started to focus on what I want instead of what I don't want, because I became conscious of the fact that these thoughts don't need to control my life, that these thoughts don't need to control all my actions, right? Now I have positive self-talk where these thoughts actually support me on my journey, right? But these negative thoughts, they still come up from time to time. They say, you shouldn't walk up to that person because you're not worthy. That's not true at all. That's just a pattern in my head. And then the moment I observe that thought, stop believing in it, now it gives me permission to go walk up to that girl, that person, or that person I want to network with instead, because I am worthy. And then when you start taking the action, you realize you are worthy. And you realize that your worthiness does not depend on the actions that you take, and that you're already worthy the way that you are. You're simply worthy. You have self-worth by simply being alive. You can rewrite your own story, rewrite the beliefs, rewrite the way you see reality. And then the moment I started doing these 3 things, I stopped caring about what people think about me. Now I'm at the point now where I can socialize with any person of any culture, of any race. I don't judge people. When I say judge people, I'm not projecting my own thoughts onto them because it's not in my head, right? I'm not creating a reality where I assume somebody's a bad person. I just assume everyone's a friend, and I see a reflection of that in my life. So get out of your head, stop believing in your thoughts, observe your thoughts. If you apply these 3 things, I guarantee that you will stop caring about what people think about you. You will become closer to the person that you want to be. You will begin to become closer to being your authentic self. You'll stop caring about all these things. You're going to start being more natural. You're going to stop taking things so seriously. You're going to start perceiving life more of like a game, and you can start being who you want to be. You can start talking to people in a free way, because you can work on your confidence, but the moment you just start observing your thoughts, you develop this confidence that comes naturally to you. Because when you're in the ego state, you can work on your confidence all you want, but there's going to be a limit to how confident you can become, because you're still in your head. You're still in the ego. You're still worried about what people think about you, even if you develop that confidence. That's one good way to do it, but when you observe those thoughts, when you neutralize them, start perceiving them as good or bad, now your confidence develops to a whole new level. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope this video gives you some value, some benefit. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell, and I hope you guys have yourself a great day. Done.